In this video, I'm creating 3 cards using the new Simon Hurley stamp set and its coordinating die, along with a bonus item that can be used as a gift tag. Hello everyone, this is Neha Tulsyan from Crescent Creation. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm using the new birthday basic stamp set from Simon Hurley Stamps along with its coordinating die, which is a collaboration between Simon Hurley and Spellbinders. I received the products from Spellbinders and was asked to create a card using the products. But I was so inspired that I created 3 instead of 1. So here is my first card. Of course, I made a shaker card. How can I not? That lovely sound of shaker bits. I love it. Second one is a simple card on outside but a lot more going on inside. And for my last card, I created this interactive card where my gift boxes are floating. And then I also have this bonus gift tag to show toward the end of the video. For my shaker card, I'm starting with creating the frame, which I'm die cutting out of a scalloped die. You can use any die from your stash that cuts a frame. It doesn't have to be scallop. It can be just rectangles or squares or circles, whatever shape you like. Once I have my die cut ready, I'm going to go ahead and apply some liquid glue at the back of the die cut frame. And I'm going to go ahead and glue some clear acetate sheet. So this creates the window for our shaker. For this particular step, you can also use your packaging materials. I just personally like to use the clear acetate sheets. So here I'm just trimming off the excess sheet using my scissor. And now I'm going to go ahead and create the shaker well. You can create the shaker well in different ways. You can die cut multiple of these frames and just glue them using liquid glue. The easiest way that I like to do it is use foam strips. Crescent Creation, our store carries these 2 sizes of strips that comes in a pack. So you get 5mm and 3mm width of foam strips, which are perfect for creating these shaker cards. Today's frame, the scalloped frame, is a little thinner, so I'm using the 3mm strips here. So I'm just taking one of the strips, and since they are double-sided, they're easy to just glue on. And they're pretty strong. The adhesive is pretty strong, so you don't have to worry about anything coming out later. So I'm just applying that, creating my well, making sure I don't have any gaps, especially near the edges. And once I'm happy with how my well looks, I already have this striped pattern paper from my stash ready. I'm just gonna go ahead and trim it to size. Here I'm just using my Tim Holtz Guillotine trimmer and trimming it to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Next, I'm just pouring in my shaker bits. I'm just dumping it all onto my pattern paper here, and I'm bringing everything to the center so that when I glue the frame on top, nothing comes in between those foam strips and my pattern paper. For my shaker bits, I'm using the Cupcake Sprinkle Clay Bits mix from Crescent Creation. Here I'm just gluing the frame in place. I'm already shaking my shaker materials. You can see it's so tempting. I just love creating shaker cards. So here I just had a little bit of excess of pattern paper showing from 2 sides. So I'm just trimming that off using my scissors. Now my shaker is ready. I just have to work on the image. I've already stamped and die cut this image from the birthday basic stamp set. Today I'm using my Prismacolor pencils to color the image here. It's long, I haven't used them, and I just wanted to try my hands on them, so here you go. And I tried to keep the color combination of this image similar to my clay bits so that they match and look beautiful. I'm gonna put some music for you to enjoy the coloring, but if you are not interested in coloring, you can skip forward to the process video. So here I've done coloring my cake image, and I'm just gonna go ahead and glue that in place. But before I glue that, I just all of a sudden thought, oh my god, I did not do the sentiment beforehand before making the whole shaker. So my plan was to add this wish big sentiment on the very front of my shaker, and then I forgot about it. So but luckily it worked for me. So here I'm just stamping the wish big sentiment using my Stay-tion black ink. Since I'm stamping the sentiment on clear sheet, I used a Stay-tion ink, which is a permanent ink and works beautifully on any of these sleek surfaces. Just make sure you clean your stamp very well after use, because if the ink dries on the stamp, it will be permanent on the stamp set. It will not harm your stamp set, it's just that it will be there and it will stain your stamp, that's all. This is me just cleaning my stamp set thoroughly before I move to the next steps. Here I'm just gluing my image using some liquid glue. Just positioning it in place, making sure it's nice and straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this to an A2 size card base. Also going to stamp a sentiment to the inside of my card. You get some really nice sentiments in the stamp set, which can be used both outside and inside. I like the bold ones, the bold sentiments go outside my card, and the longer, sleeker ones to the inside of my card. So my card is almost ready here, just giving some last finishing touches here. So I'm adding this glaze, glittery glaze from Lawn Fawn on the candle flame and also on the designed whipped cream or the icing on the cake. I also added highlights to the image using my white gel pen. That finishes my first card for today. Now for my second card, I'm first working on the card front. I've added 2 layers on my card front. So I have a pattern paper, then I have layered it with a black cardstock, and then I have my card base. So here I'm just trimming off my pattern paper and my black cardstock to size. The pattern paper measures 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and the black cardstock here measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I'm gonna go ahead and glue both of these together with my double-sided tape. Next I have my white card base here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and place my card front on top of it, making sure it's centered properly. I'm not gluing this yet in place. I just want it to stay there put so that I can do some die cutting all the layers at the same time. I'm just holding these in place using some post-it tape. I'm gonna go ahead and place my balloon die in the center where I want the die cutting to be, and I'm just gonna go ahead and die cut it. Pass this through my die cutting machine. I had 3 layers of paper or cardstock, 1 pattern paper and 2 layers of thick cardstock, but still my die cut this in 1 pass. So that was amazing. Just love the quality of Spellbinder dies. They're amazing, seriously. Here I've removed the card fronts, the pattern paper and the black layered card front, and now I'm working on stamping the sentiment. So I have taken the stamp set comes with 2 balloon images. One is solid and the other one is outline, and today I'm just using the solid image here. I'm using Distress Oxide inks to stamp my images. Since it's a solid image, I first stamped on a scrap piece of cardstock there a couple of times to get nice stamping. I used picked raspberry Distress Oxide ink for my first balloon. I stamped it through the die cut. The balloon image is on the inside of the card, but you can see one of the balloon image because we did the die cutting. And to make sure both of those line up, I stamped the first balloon image through the die cut. So I closed my card and then I stamped it through the die cut. Here I'm stamping the rest of the 2 balloon images after I have opened my card. I hope it is not so confusing. It's just a little hard to explain, but it's easier to see and understand. I used ripe persimmon and mustard seed Distress Oxide inks for my rest 2 balloons. Here I'm just using a black pen and drawing the string to tie the balloons. You do get the string image too in the stamp set, but I really wanted to create just my own. Next I'm gonna go ahead and stamp a sentiment to to the inside of my card, I'm stamping the same sentiment as I stamped on my last card. Here I'm just gluing my card front to my card base. I decided to add some dimension to it, so I used my foam tape here and I added it all over the back of my card front, and now I just glued it in place, making sure my die cuts match. And next I'm gonna go ahead and stamp the balloon string, but before I do that I wanted to first stamp the sentiment. So I'm stamping happy birthday sentiment from the same stamp set to the front of my card. And once I stamped the sentiment, I decided instead of using the stamp set for the string, I just use a pen, same pen that I used for the inside, and I drew the string. So my card is almost done here, adding highlights using my white pen to all 3 balloons. But here I was not satisfied by the look of my card front. I felt something was missing. So I decided to add some sprinkles on my card front, and I really wanted it to be random and as if it is sprinkled on the card front. So what I did was I took my glue bottle and I just applied some liquid glue all over my card front, randomly all over. It was looking messy at that time, but just trust the process here. And once I'm done applying the glue, here I'm just sprinkling the sprinkles on top, literally, and just wait for it. And everything almost got stuck. Few places where the sprinkles didn't stuck, and I just used I picked up the sprinkle using my hand and I just put it in place, and I let it dry, and it just stuck beautifully, and that just added that extra effect that I was looking for on this card. And that finishes my second card for today. For my third card, I wanted to create something like a thick medallion or something on the card front that either the recipient can take it out and use it on the gifts, like you can just put it on the gift and it looks good, or you can just, I decided to at the end to have it floating, and there are ways that the recipient can take it out of the card too, but I decided not to do that. I just decided on doing the floating part. To create that floater or medallion, as I'm calling here, first I did was the image that you're going to use. In this case, I'm using the gift boxes image from the stamp set. I die cut several of those image using white cardstock. So I think I die cut 9 of them, and I created a set of 3. So I glued 3 of these die cuts together and kept it aside. Then I glued another 3, and then I glued another 3. Out of the 3 sets, I'm using one of the set and I'm trimming it using my scissors. Here I trimmed off one of the die cut, and I'm just using the top part and glued it to my another set here. So you can see I'm just gluing, and now I trimmed off the bottom part. I left the middle part and I'm just gluing the bottom part. So this way we get a gap in between. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go and apply glue on the top and the bottom part, and I'm gonna glue the third set on top of it. So this gives me a thick die cut that has kind of a hole in between. And this is how it looks. I have already glued the image on top of it. I could not show the coloring of the image since this video was getting really long. Now I'm working on my background. For my background, I decided to create a rainbow background using the sprinkles image, the border image from the stamp set. I'm using Distress Oxide inks here. I'm using Lumberjack Plat, Ripe Persimmon, Mustard Seed, Rustic Wilderness, Blueprint Sketch, and Villainous Potion. Here I'm just working on my scene, and I wanted to see how it looks, how my image looks against my background. So here I've just placed a strip of paper, and I have threaded it through my gift boxes image or the medallion that we created earlier. So everything fits together properly, but I did not like my gift box image against that busy background. I decided to glue a white cardstock on top of my rainbow background here. This white cardstock is just a 1/4 inch smaller. Next, I'm stamping the sentiment happy birthday on the top right of my card front using some black ink. Since I am using a white cardstock on my card front, I decided to use a pattern paper for my strip where my medallion will float. Here I just trimmed a pattern paper to size that will fit my medallion here. To make sure that it floats easily and there is no effort in the floating, I decided to add a little bit of foam tape. Here I'm just using some foam strips and applying to the very end of my the strip, pattern paper strip that my medallion is sitting on. It will also work as a stopper, so it's not gonna go all the way out of the card, so that foam strip will act as a stopper too. Before I glue the foam strips on the other side, I'm just trimming my pattern paper strip here to size, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply the strip on the other side. Removing the backing of the strips, and once that's out, I'm gonna go ahead and glue this in place. I'm just using a pointy tool to help me remove the backing. These are sticky tapes. It's easier to not fight with them with your nails, and instead I use just a X-Acto knife or a pointy tool to remove the backing. And this is how it looks. I just love the look of it. Next, I'm adding some embellishments. So for this one, I decided to use those rainbow dots from Crescent Creation. These clay bits worked perfectly here for my card. I added little extra, which you'll see that I'll remove just in few seconds. So what I did was I added a lot, especially near the gift box, the medallion thing, and it was restricting the flow. So once I'm gluing it in place, I'll just see that my medallion is not moving as it was supposed to. So I'm just gonna quickly remove those near ones. So you have to make sure that you're not applying any embellishment in its path, then it will not move. So now I just glued this onto a white card base, and I also stamped a sentiment to the inside of the card. But I didn't like the look of it, so I changed the card base to a metallic pink. And that finishes my third card for today. As promised, here is my bonus project, the gift tag. So I have already pre-colored my images. I decided to choose 2 images since this cake image is a mirror image or a symmetrical image. I can use it at the front and at the back too. So here I've just glued one die cut at the back of my first image, and before I glue rest of the die cut to it, I'm gonna first go ahead and glue some twine. Then I'm gonna go ahead and glue the rest of the die cuts and then the second image on the back. So you don't really have to glue a second image at the back if you want to write a to and from and a message for the recipient, but I really wanted to create a two-way kind of gift tag. I think it would look really cute if you glue this just on top of the gift boxes or just attach it to a gift bag, and the recipient can also reuse it. If you write a message at the back, it's not reusable, but this will be reusable, and since we have added so many layers, it's nice and sturdy. To finish it off, I'm just adding some stickles on candle flame and also onto the icing. I'm gonna go ahead and do that on both sides, and that finishes my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Here are a few more videos that you might like to watch. Thank you for visiting. Have a nice day.